But also this coaching thing is also really, really helping, and it's really insightful, and I think I'm equally like the same sort of attention and passion that I have for the pole dancing. I have like I look forward to these Wednesday classes. Really helping, and
Sorry, I lost you there for a second.
no, I was just saying that I think I'm equally passionate about this coaching course as I am with the pole dancing.
Okay, cool.
So
You like the
it's
ropes?
really, it's stunning. I was going to ask you, is it your Valentine or something?
Pia gave it to me as a Valentine. It's a fucking plastic rose, but
Oh, lovely. Well,
yeah,
those are the best kind of roses, the ones that never die.
yeah. Okay, cool. I'll be with you in a sec.
No stress.
Right, who's joined us? Leanne. Hey, Lee. Hey, Leanne. You're muted.
I'm good. Hi.
That looks nice where you are.
That's home.
Yes.
So we live in a summer development. Yeah, it is nice. We're very blessed.
Good for you. Hello, Bradley.
Hey, David. Hi, Leanne. Mark.
How's it?
How's it?
I'm good. Yourself?
Not too bad.
So we're just waiting for people to connect. There's my morning alarm. Vanessa. Nick.
Morning, morning.
Right, 8 o'clock. What do? We start on time. Yep. And if you're coaching by yourself and your client hasn't arrived, you still need to be there on time. Yeah. Why is that important, by the way?
It shows the commitment from my side.
Yep. Commitment, consistency builds trust. Yep. And why is it important not to shame your client if they're late?
Because it sets the negative prejudice to the or negative tone to the conversation.
Yep, it can do that. And often they come from such chaotic lives, the fact that they're turning up in of itself is a miracle. However, yeah, if they're fucking around after 3 to 6 months or whatever time frame you decide, you know, sometimes you do need to get kind of a bit stricter and a bit of a snot club. Those of you that understand what that saying is, which is pretty much everyone here. I don't think our foreign friends, if they ever watch this, will understand, and I think that's okay. So we'll directly translated, it means fiercely loved. All right, cool. Let's go. Let's build the container. Who wants to create the container? Okay, all those people that do pole dancing as a hobby, raise your hand.
Okay, I don't have the wrong raise hand right now.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Mark, do you want to build the container, please?
Sure. Mark checking in. I'm feeling really, really well. I think like I was telling you earlier, this pole dancing has become an obsession of mine. Yeah, but I'm really, really great and happy to be here and excited for today's session. And I will tag Anessa.
Hi, Inessa checking in. I am on holiday, so I'm feeling very chilled and enjoying Sedgefield and the beautiful weather. And looking forward to today's session. And I'm going to tag Leanne.
Morning, everyone. Checking in, feeling grounded. The weather's also nice in Joburg. And I am going to pass over to Bradley.
Thanks, Leanne. Bradley checking in here. Missed you guys actually last week. So I am excited and I am looking forward to what this morning holds for us in store. And then I am gonna tag Garth.
Hi, morning. I'm checking in, feeling a little bit stressed. I've got a lot of stuff to do today. I'm at work at the moment, so if I switch my camera off or whatever, it's because I'm running around doing stuff. But otherwise, I feel good. Looking forward to what today brings. I'll tag Joshua.
Josh checking in, feeling privileged and grateful. My partner has let me use his main work computer, and I've got data. I wasn't going to be able to join today, so I'm feeling a bit frazzled, but also grateful and privileged that I had other ways of being here, so that's great. So checking in, feeling good, grateful, and I'm going to tag Nick.
Thanks, Josh, Nick, and very grateful to be here. I'm a bit anxious. Awful lot on my plate. It's a really hectic time of the year for me, so I'm juggling 1,000 balls at the same time. And I will tag, who hasn't gone yet? Kayleen.
Kayleen checking in. I'm feeling a little bit anxious today, but yeah, knowing that today's session will hopefully pull me a little bit out of that. And also it's wonderful to see everyone's faces. So thanks for allowing space for all feelings. I'm going to tag Shizray.
Hi everyone. I'm checking in, feeling excited. This is my first time at this specific meeting, so I'm quite keen to see new faces and hear new insights, and yeah, feeling refreshed and good. Thank you. How do I see everyone? I don't know who hasn't gone yet. Sorry for being a bit late. I'll tag.
I think that's everyone. Is that everyone? Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
Nice to meet you. How do you say your name? Cesare.
Hi, yes, it's Cesare. Nice to meet you too, David. It's your very first time. Thank you.
Okay, just give me a bit of history where you are in terms of trainings. Have you done trainings before? Is this your very first class? What's
So thank you. Yeah. So my name is Cesare. I did the training in August with Leanne. And it was very exciting. I have been working at a halfway house rehabilitative facility with the aim to go into the coaching and counseling realm. So I've just started on my modules this week because I've just been very, very busy. So yeah, I've been attending the online classes with Leanne from the August session. So this isn't my first online session, but
okay, great.
I don't know what happened there. Oh, sorry. Okay.
Yeah. No, I'm just drawing a whiteboard.
Okay, thanks. So yeah, I'm quite excited and aiming to hopefully certify next year.
Cool. All right.
Thank you.
So, Leanne, you need to check out 11:45. Which time zone is that?
Well, you're probably not going to still be on the call at 11:45 UK time,
Yeah, okay. So it's
South
8,
African time. I
it's
need to
8
be
o'clock in the
somewhere.
morning for me. We started at 10, so you're going to be here for an hour and 3/4. Is that correct?
Yep.
Oh, cool. All
Yeah,
right.
that is correct. I just
That's
need to leave 15 minutes early today.
Okay, no problem. All right. And who just joined us? I can't see.
I did.
Hi, would you like to, oh, Tonya, would you like to check in?
Yes, please. Sorry for being late. My name is Tonya, and yeah, I'm checking in a bit anxious.
All right, cool. Okay, so I just want to draw a quick little picture for everyone. Yep. So we have the 3 C's. Yep. We have the agenda. We have the coaching conversation, the arch. We have questions, listening, needs, values, purpose, forward the action and deepen the learning. Yep. And then we come around for the second session, and then there's a continuum. So if I'm correct, we're on, this is class number 7 or 6. Does somebody know what the hell's going on here?
I think it's 7. I'm not sure. I
Se-
think it's 7.
Okay, good. All right. So there's the coaching conversation where you have one-on-one there and then there's the overarching, the overall conversation. Yep. And our overall contract is at the end of 20 classes, you will know about the coaching conversations, the continuums, the system, the 4Q leadership model, and creating the container. Yep. So I just quickly wanted to just create a visual for that. Yep. Any questions before I close it? Any questions now that I've closed it? All right. Okay, great. Okay, so at the end of the coaching conversation, there's forward the action, deepen the learning. Was there any homework? Because when you come back, you start off with accountability. So was there any homework from last week?
Yes, David. We had to sort of think of what is our value and our purpose, or what is our purpose in life.
Okay, so
And
was it? So it
let's do
wasn't.
that.
So it wasn't anything big. It was just like, oh yeah, I must quickly just tick off my purpose on the cereal box as I have breakfast in the morning. Okay, cool. Kayleen? What did
I was going to say the same as Mark. We so yeah, what instills purpose and gives us meaning, or what instills hope and gives you meaning and purpose in life. So that was just last week that I think we briefly mentioned it, but we didn't go into detail.
Okay, good. All right. Kayleen was breaking up for me. Was that for everyone, or is it just my internet connection? Okay. All right. All right. So we got
Sorry
an
about
yeah, we got an idea of what you said, Kayleen. That's cool. All right. So Mark, let's go back to you, and you can be our rat specimen here for the rat that's living in Rat Park, and where you were when we very first started this class and where you are now, physically, there's a huge improvement. Yeah, you're looking kind of spicy, guy. You're like all buffed up, you've got a lovely smile, your hair's all done, you're doing pole dancing. Tell us about that.
So yeah, that's I think my recovery has always in the past lacked something, some sort of hobby or activity where I could be fully present and engage in and have passion. And I always used to be very, I think, jealous of people in recovery that had those sort of like things that they found that they were passionate about. I will say that my first session was before I did it, I was incredibly anxious. I made the appointment, and then I started to doubt myself and think that I wouldn't be good at it. I'd go into a space where there's people that know what they're doing, and I'm going to look like an idiot. And so I spoke to one of the counselors here, and I said to her, you know, I've got severe anxiety around this. And she said, just go in and literally fall on your face straight out the gate and make a joke about it. And so I did that, and now I'm already like 1 month in. I'm already soon moving into the intermediate level. I'm able to do things that I never thought my body would ever do. And so what I want to say, what is very important for me in this, and the purpose and the meaning attached to it, is I want to sort of like have that continuum where I went from this unwell person that was a sex worker that, you know, put my body in, well, I used my body for the wrong reasons, to get money, to feed my addiction, or sustain it. And now with the coaching and the pole dancing and everything, I feel like I'm becoming well, and I'm seeing the value in life and activity and stuff. And I would like to work my way to one day being a coach, specifically at WITS, where we have a department that goes and helps coach or counsel sex trafficked people. They go to brothels and to places in the townships where there's sex workers, and they try and, you know, motivate them for a different life. And I think coaching would be really helpful for me in that department. So yeah.
So that's great. That's a nice surface level CV presentation, which is wonderful. But just go a bit deeper and talk about the way we were talking before everyone came onto the call.
Oh, okay. So, well, specifically, I was sharing with David how this pole dancing thing has really like changed everything. It's given me this perspective where I'm addicted to that now. I think I've cross addicted over to pole dancing.
There we go. Now you're talking.
I mean, it's made me. I'm wanting to get the outfits. Watching every video that possible online. I'm wanting to start eating brown rice and having the whole diet change. And so I try to tell myself it's not a bad thing, but it's definitely possibly a cross addiction at this point.
Okay, so let's not judge it whether it's a bad thing or a good thing. Yeah. But basically your obsessive personality, yep, is chasing the pole like you would men.
Yeah. Definitely.
Okay, great. All right. So that's fantastic. Yeah, I don't want to take away from that. But I do want to bring attention to the fact that when our clients start to shift and they move from a culture of addiction to a culture of recovery, that does not mean that they've left their obsessive, single-minded, defiant, fucking can-do attitude. That personality has gone with them, and it's about aligning that to something that's going to move them towards high well-being or to harm reduction, yep, and then on to high well-being. And the reason this is important is as we start to move into the system side of things, yep, your personality hasn't changed much. Yeah. What has changed is the way that you're kind of feeding your passion. Does that make sense?
No, it does, definitely.
Yeah. So
as hard as I was working for my addiction, I'm trying to work for the pole and recovery.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like for me, yeah, I might not be smoking crack, but I'm very obsessed with this work. It's my kokorozashi. It's part of my soul's purpose. And because of that, yeah, I struggle to think of other things. I struggle to connect with my family. I struggle with all sorts of things just because I'm so driven in this sort of stuff. Yeah. So I'm not the easiest person to live with. Yeah. Being so passionate. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it
Or
does.
work with.
Or work with. There we go. Thank you, Leanne. That was a nice little sideways dig there. Yeah. So the and I've got some kind of, I like to think, some humility around that. I know what my assets are and I know what my liabilities are. And I've had to kind of work on that sort of stuff. Yeah. So the question last week was, what's your passion? What drives you? What do you get obsessed about? Yeah. And if our clients can get like that, recovery is very easy for them because they're living a life of meaning and purpose. Josh, you look like you were deep in thought there for a second.
Oh God, because I realize that this is a very hard thing for me to answer because of the way that I think.
Okay.
I identify as like two things, at least philosophically, when it comes to meaning and purpose. Like the number one thing is I'm a nihilist. I don't think there's an inherent meaning in anything in the world. I don't think that there's a purpose. I think when we die, it won't matter. If the human race gets wiped out, it won't matter. So I'm very nihilistic in that sense. But another very big part of me is I'm very optimistic. So I'm an optimistic nihilist in the sense that because there is no inherent objective
What
meaning.
does that look like? Oh yeah, today.
Yeah, that's the thing. If there's no point, then it's okay. It's kind of like a video game. It's okay if you screw up because, you know, it's just a video game. But I'm optimistic in the sense that, like, I think what gives me meaning and purpose with that worldview of, like, it doesn't really matter is that I want to leave the world not as a good person, because I don't believe that's an objective thing either. I want to leave the world having always had good intent and having had a net positive effect. So I get meaning and purpose out of helping others and doing things. Like I could never work a corporate job unless it was for an NGO. You know what I mean? I could never work at like a plastic manufacturing company unless it was like making CPR kits or something. I don't know. So yeah, I think helping others is a big thing for me with that overarching philosophy.
Great.
Sorry.
Okay, no. Why are you fucking apologizing?
Because that was such a ramble.
No, it wasn't a ramble at all, but inherently your own values, yep, is basically you don't want to be a dickhead on this planet, and you want your life to leave have some sort of impact, not for you personally, but for humanity going forward.
You said it so much. That sounded way nicer. That's exactly what I meant. 100%.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Great. Oh, all right. So with that in mind, is your career aligned for your values?
100%. I mean, going into
Great.
clinical psychology, it's helping the worst of the worst, the people that,
Great.
you know, have the worst things. So yeah, 100%. And this, I mean, goodness sake, it's a very big part of it.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So it's not like you're an accountant dreaming of being a psychologist. Yeah. There's opportunities for you to live out your kokorozashi. So the mass space, the environment that you find yourself in is supportive in kind of giving you meaning and purpose. Wonderful. All right. Bradley and Nessa, I want to tackle the both of you because you both work at the same organization. Yep. And you've both got strong Christian values. Yep. So your faith is very important for you. Yep. And helping others, I imagine, is very important for you. I imagine the parable of the Good Samaritan would resonate with both of you. Is that correct? Yeah. Okay, cool. That's a nice smile, Bradley. Tell us about that smile.
Thank you. I think thanks, David. I think when Josh was speaking there, I think it's and when Mark spoke, I think the thing for me is that getting people focused on the hope. A lot of the time within where people come in these situations where they see no hope, it's just changing their focus to actually look at that there's still hope. And I think that's just been for me coming out of corporate, leaving corporate behind, to focus on the faith, on the God aspect, on the Jesus aspect, is to give people hope and keep them focused on that hope.
Okay, so the Jesus aspect. Tell me about the Jesus aspect.
I think so. Like Josh was saying, speaking of it's a year factor for him. You know that this is the end, and it's like he was saying, the video game thing. Where if no matter what happens in the video game, it's just a game. But for me personally, it's much more deeper than that. And I think because of where I come out of and what my faith has led me to and what it's done for me personally and my family, that is the hope I leave with people. And that's where I guide people to, is that hope.
Okay. Nessa?
So I'll try to explain it from the worldview perspective. So like Joshua started a really great trend here, because it gives us an understanding where each one of us, how we relate, and also gives us an awareness that when we work with clients, that they come from a different worldview as well. So being able to understand that. So I come from a worldview where God is the creator and there's a purpose in life, and that Jesus died for our sin, that those who accept him become his children, and that is the hope that we have. So having that in mind, I believe that God has got a calling for each person, and that I've got a calling, and then the person that I would, let's say, client that I'll see, they will also have a calling on their life. So my purpose in life, and something that gives me an absolute joy, is to see that person discover what God has called them for. And those steps often include going over through recovery, going through a lot of pain and trauma to actually find that hope and purpose in their lives.
Okay. So you use faith and religion to help people to extrapolate what people's purpose is in life. Yeah.
Yes and no. Religion being like a tablecloth, or faith being like a tablecloth, and then we would have tools that we will set on that table. So it will be point of origin, but I don't necessarily use, let's say, Bible study to get person to a place. It might be recovery coaching, or it depends on what person needs at that point.
Okay. So I liked the metaphor of a tablecloth, religion being a tablecloth. Yep. And then you put certain things on the tablecloth, and come and sit at my table and break bread with me. And let's have a conversation that's cool. All right. All right. So we've got the pole dancer, we've got the nihilist video game, we've got some Christians here with the tablecloths. Kayleen?
So I'm going to build a little bit on what Joshua said. Sorry, can you guys hear me properly? It's saying that my is unstable. Okay. I want to build on what Josh said, just by saying that my meaning is also and purpose is also to help people, but from the perspective of helping to set them free from the things that are holding them back, or something that's actually keeping them in a space or a relationship and a job and anything that's stopping them from living their most authentic and happy lives. Whether it's a dynamic, whether it's self-limiting beliefs. Actually, I think that's the thing we all fight the most, is the self-limiting beliefs, whether that's something we've built up over time in ourselves, or just the way the way we think, the way we look at the world.
Change the language to I.
Yes, of course. So yeah, I found a lot of strength in being able to become aware of my self-limiting beliefs on my own journey, and how that can really affect the way that I sort of, the value that I see within myself and my position that I take in specific dynamics and relationships, and even in the workplace. So selling myself short, and so having challenge, the first step is to become aware of those self-limiting beliefs. And so I think that's given me a lot of purpose. I think also treating others the way that I would like to be treated. That's also something that ethically that's always been very strong for me. So that gives me meaning and purpose, because I feel like if I'm going to do something to someone that I wouldn't really like done to myself, what is the point of anything? Like that's a very subjective way to look at it, but that's something that's sort of been a guiding light and given me purpose, I would say.
Okay, so a bit like do unto others as you do unto yourself.
Yeah, for sure. That's
okay. All right, which is a very Judeo-Christian type statement.
Yeah, it's yeah.
Now, for me, I often treat people better than I would treat myself. My thinking, if I spin that on my head, that type of statement would give me a lot of, I'm going to say, guilt at time around anger, and I would swallow my anger and allow people to abuse me or abuse myself. But we'll go into that later. But there is a shadow inside me that takes me to a masochist, where my behavior, I could be a lot kinder to myself. Okay. All right. So let's move on. Tonya, would you like to chip in here?
Yeah, sure. Is it just my internet or everybody's? I keep getting disturbances, but okay. So can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
You're
okay. So yeah, I'm really interested in this space beyond recovery. What really lights me up is when I see people actualize their potential, like when they begin to step into the growth orientated mindset space. The true transformation space where they really start, activating their gifts, fulfilling, their purpose, or living their values, or beginning to embody, their values in a way that it starts to impact those people around them. So yeah, that space of actualizing potential, which comes a little bit later, but where the light of their souls really start to shine out, and they just begin to really, they've integrated the spiritual principles, they've integrated the recovery skills and resources, and they're really living a full, rich life. So and there was something I wanted to say about this, but now I've just forgotten. It's wait. Yeah, it's this. It was a few weeks back, the definition of recovery, like getting back what addiction took from you. And I mean, for me, my personal journey has been like, I've discovered, I think, more than I ever would have discovered beyond recovery than I was before. Does that make sense? So I didn't just get back what the addiction took. I actually really like actualized my dormant potential, which I don't think I would have truly if I hadn't been down that road and done that kind of work in a deeper way. So there's more waiting after recovery than what you had before. There's so many layers to access beyond just recovery and beyond just taking back what the addiction took.
Cool. And you're in a career that supports that? Is that correct?
Yes.
Psychologist?
Correct. I'm a psychotherapist. Correct.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Cool. All right. Good stuff. All right, let's move on to Garth.
I resonated a lot with the idea of being an optimistic nihilist as well. Sort of in a world that doesn't have meaning, I saw that as good news, because then I just get to create my own. And when it came to trying to figure out a mission, that was, I think, important to me when creating a mission, is that it's not dependent on other people or institutions or what other people want me to do. So, like, my mission doesn't include like any of my family or any kind of institution or anything. It has to be what I want to do, because you can't really rely on other people. Like, if my mission was to be a good father, like, what would happen if I lost my son? Then what would happen to my mission? So I sort of settled on helping people, because that's something that I can do that I don't have to rely on anybody else to do. It's also a piece of work that can never be finished as well, because like some people will say, oh, my mission is to make a lot of money, or to, to have a family. But like, okay, well, what happens when you've done that? What do you do next? So yeah, I think just helping people is very broad, and it's something that I could always do. And the way that looks, I think, changes depending on what's happening in my life. Like, if I'm in AA, I can help people there, or if becoming a coach would incorporate that. And I have no idea what that will look like in the future, but that's something that I could always use as a baseline when I don't know what to do. And I sort of found the mission through dealing with depression, because that was like, okay, if I'm depressed, I don't know what to do. Should I clean the house? Should I do this? Should I like try to find a different job or whatever? It's like, no, well, if I can't think of what to do, I could always just go and help someone. So yeah, thanks.
That depression's a difficult one, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I resonate with that. What is do you have a personal mission statement?
No, not really. I mean, like, it's that simple. And I like to keep it that simple, because yeah, the details of that will change depending on where I am in life, what week it is, what's going on in my life. So yeah, it's not more detailed than that. Like, I've got a lot of goals and objectives that I'd like to do, and I differentiate the goals from the objectives. So I can have a lot of goals that would fall within that sort of mission. So, like becoming a coach, starting my own business as a coach, yeah, things like that.
Cool. I really liked what you said. Also about having a BHAG, a big, hairy, audacious goal, something in life that you will never complete. One of my challenges my mission was to own a clinic, to be a rehab owner. Yep, and my vision was to get the clinic. And when I got there, and I got to the foundation, it was called Sharp at the time, and I became the owner of it, I had a breakdown. It's like, oh fuck, now what? And then I went on a bender, and when I kind of came back and reset myself, I decided to have a BHAG, which was to kind of cure the world of addiction. And that's recently needs to kind of change a bit, but it was to cure the world of addiction by practicing unconditional love, and by empowering personal responsibility and practicing unconditional love. So empowering people to take personal responsibility for themselves and loving them unconditionally. Yep, this is how it's going to cure the world of addiction. And we do that by training people, empowering individuals, and improving treatment outcomes. But that does need a relook. But anyway, yes, thanks, Garth. That was great. Let's go to Shezray. Do you want to come in here? And then we'll go to Nick, who's being very well behaved in the top right-hand corner of my screen. Go for it, Shezray.
Sorry, I'm not really sure what I'm responding to. I mean, there's been a lot of different insights in that are very valuable insights. So I'm not really sorry. I'm not really sure what
No
to say.
problem. No problem. Let me jump in and then kind of provide some support. Yeah. So
Thank you.
we've been talking about how having coaching conversations can, one, give you kind of meaning and purpose and help you on your journey, and also how you can be there to support their clients in finding meaning and purpose in their life. And my assumption is you've done the 3-day training with Leanne, you have some lived experience yourself, and that you're now combining your lived experience with your training to create a career out of your story. And you're in a halfway house now, supporting people that are coming to stay there. So you're in an environment that's going to help you live your meaning and purpose on a daily basis. Is that correct?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. Absolutely.
Okay, cool.
You know, I've kind of always had a passion and a calling to work in the realm of mental health, and I do have lived experience with mental illnesses and addiction. I am I'll be 7 years clean in May, and I do have a lot of empathy and compassion for people who are struggling with addiction, because I know that it's a pandemic, you know, and I love hearing people's stories. I love seeing people thrive and succeed and break free from their chains. And I'm also a Christian, so there's a lot of, you know, Christian principles that I would like to apply, but also be able to navigate and adapt and hear people's stories and people's individual journeys, because I think at the end of the day, we all have our own concept of God and good orderly direction and finding purpose and meaning in this life. So I really I'm looking forward to learning more. I mean, I did 1 year of social work with the aim to become a social worker, but I kind of dropped out because I thought it was going to be too much for me emotionally, because I do kind of tend to tap into countertransference and taking on people's issues as my own. So I was very nervous about doing that. Whereas if I do a more, I don't know, from my personal view, like I think coaching and some sort of addiction counseling is a bit less hectic. I may be wrong, but maybe it's, you know, I'm still young, so I can see what my path brings and what my journey brings. But for now, you know, I would love to keep working in the space of helping people on their recovery journeys and even on their mental health journeys, and bringing, I mean, even working at the halfway house for the past 4 months has been really rewarding. For the first time, I mean, I only started there 4 months ago, but for the first time in my life, I wake up with joy, with purpose, with fulfillment, and I go to bed with joy and purpose and fulfillment. So it's been a wonderful experience, and I'm looking forward to continuing that for many, many years to come. So, yeah.
Which halfway house are you at?
It is Diamond Recovery Centers. So
Okay.
the one in Blairgowrie is where I've been.
Okay, is that
going back.
Clint?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, cool. All right, great.
Yeah.
Leanne, you got your hand up.
I'm listening to everybody talk about meaning and purpose, and I'm watching a presentation at the moment, which I actually posted, and I want to like with all the meaning and purpose, I just want to reiterate that idea of self-care, you know, because I've seen David do it over and over again. We all end up doing it. So here's some key statistics that this woman is sharing, Dr. Carolyn Ross. 85% of people working in addiction spaces, these are obviously American numbers, but I would imagine they could translate. 85% of people working in addiction treatment have a history of trauma. So if you have a history of trauma, are you addressing your own trauma while you get out there and get all excited about the work? 75% of substance abuse counselors have experienced at least one symptom of PTSD in the previous week. Okay, so that's high, okay, which has an impact on your mental health. 67% of counselors, etc., experience vicarious trauma by listening to the stories that their clients share with them. And the burnout rates sit as high as 56%. So it's really great that you're all excited about the work, but I think what's really important is that everybody learns to take care of themselves at the same time as you're doing this work. I'm not trying to be a naysayer.
You're not being a
But-
naysayer at all. You're bringing
Cool.
sober
I
wisdom.
also
to
just know that a lot of people need to have very strong boundaries in their organizations because unfortunately, and this is no one in particular, and a lot of operations are exploiting their counselors and their coaches, expecting them to work long, long, long hours with very little leave at very low pay. Which I have massive issue with because I get a lot of calls from coaches, etc., talking about this. What must I do? How can I do it? So just, yeah, you know, with all your meaning and purpose out there, just also learn to take care of yourselves in this space. That's all I have.
Thanks, Lee. Right. Where were we? Nick. Cape Town is in the house. Let's go.
Thank you. Yeah, contrary to what you think, Joshua, I think you laid the foundation there beautifully, and you spelt it out so well. I think that was very succinct. That was fantastic. And then the added layer on top of that with from who was it, Kayleen, and then Garth with depression. It all speaks to me. And then the added layer on top of that from Leanne about self-care. That kind of sums it all up for me. I mean, in my personal experience, I mean, I've had a few businesses over the years, and that gave me, I mean, these are big words, purpose and meaning, you know, and that gave me a lot. I felt it gave me a lot of purpose and meaning. Starting businesses, upskilling people, employing people. I got a lot of gratitude, a lot of joy, a lot of purpose and meaning from watching the growth of staff, and they buy their first car and they pass their first test, they've got a certificate or whatever it is for upskilling in the business, and then they buy their first house and they get married and then they have a kid, and I derive so much joy from watching people's growth. I also derive a lot of joy from, you know, having a long-standing monogamous marriage, watching my kids' growth. My eldest is actually getting married that month, next month. But what you find in the end is that you start to live vicariously through everybody else. I do. Sorry, I do. Yeah, the first person. Sorry, David. And it ends up, in my case, I think it end up to my detriment.
Right.
And then I actually, you know, you end up with an existential crisis, thinking you're living. It's codependency. You're only happy if your employees are happy, or if your wife is happy, or if your kids are happy, and if they're not, then you're down. And it's like, oh my God, where was the self-care in all of that? So that's not in this environment of therapy. So I'm just saying it can happen in every working environment. What I'm enjoying about this and where I'm getting purpose and meaning is that I'm doing there's self-growth in this journey, as well as being able to be of service to others. I'm very cognizant of how the boundaries are going to have to be firm. And with what Leanne's just said now, the burnout rate is high. But believe me, it is out there in the business world too. But the upside to this is that there's a lot of personal growth in this field at the same time. And and that's what I take from this, and that's where I'm getting a lot of help and joy and hope, and yeah. Anyway, I think you get the picture.
Cool. Thanks for that, Nick. I really relate to what you were talking about. I personally love the entrepreneurial side of things, and then seeing people grow and to benefit. And I also want to say that I really want to support Leanne. And this is something I've been guilty of as a leader of an organization in the self-help environment, is taking advantage of people's enthusiasm for the sake of the organization. And me as a leader, I have been abusive around that. Not consciously, but it did become conscious for me. Yep, and I think a lot of people in the NPO sector, in the faith-based organization, in the charity sector, is often actually worse than the kind of the corporate sector at times, because the manipulation is, you're doing good, this is part of your service, this is like your 12-step stuff, you must go and help others. Yeah, so we must acknowledge that it's like the world abuses teachers, nurses, policemen, things like that. Firemen. It's like this is vocational work. And because it's vocational, we don't need to pay you as much as we would like an IT person that can fix your computer and get your router working. There's something in the world and the value system around that as well, which we need to be careful of. And we also need to be careful of, and I get quite passionate about this, is where the 12-step stuff, 12-step service work gets enmeshed inside the treatment world. Yeah, this is why we bang on about professional lived experience. So you're learning a professional role here, that you can use your lived experience in a professional way to show up in the world. And a professional way means you get paid for showing up that way. And so an amateur golfer becomes a professional golfer when they get paid for playing golf. Yep. And this can go a bit deeper into kind of the ethics of things, because if someone starts using again, for example, in a 12-step context, yep, they relapse, they go back to day one. Yep. In the workplace environment, if someone goes back to using or something, you want to measure that person on their ability to function and to do their job. Yep. If they do go back to using, then it's a real indication that something's not great in the environment, and that needs to be addressed. That is a coping mechanism for what that individual's going through. Is this making sense here? Yeah. So yeah, it's still a very stigmatized environment and profession that we find ourselves in. Cool. All right. So has everyone been? Does anyone want to add anything before we have a break?
Yeah, sorry. I just wanted to add on to what Leanne said. Outside of like the value or something going on in the world of how we treat people in these spaces, I think there's a very conscious decision to exploit people like that. I mean, especially as an honors graduate, people trying to get into their masters. I worked at a psychoanalytical center for a year. I had to drive there and back, did intake work with people from Alexandra that were going through harrowing stuff, and never got counseling from them, never got paid a dime, worked for free for a whole year. And it wasn't really something that guaranteed me getting into my masters. And then I think even more on like a systemic level, one of my best friends is a reg psychiatrist, and he's working at Baragwana right now. And every time I see him, which is quite often every week, there's some new reg who's either been admitted into a facility themselves because they had a breakdown, or been sick and had to take like 2 weeks off of work because of burnout. There's clearly something on a systemic level that isn't really addressing the fact that we need to look after ourselves to work for this. You know,
Absolutely.
it's all fair and well to beat someone up as a boxer, but I'd only really be okay with doing that if I'm getting paid as much as an MMA fighter. You know what I mean?
Yep. Absolutely, Joshua, you hit the nail on the head. And this is and this really supports the case of a recovery coach in terms of kind of lived experience as well, aligning with professionals, because it can help alleviate the psychological pressure that the professional doctor, has to sit with. So a psychiatrist really wants to see someone, assess them, and take a medical approach to them, but the individual's got so much kind of personal trauma and psychosocial problems that get dumped onto the psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist is unable to hold all those different roles. It's like the police stations. A lot of policemen need to be trained in social work as social workers, because the drama that happens in the communities is coming to the police station, and the policemen have to sit with this stuff. Yes, Anessa.
When we return after the break, I would personally find it very helpful to learn more about the burnout prevention and self-care techniques, specifically in coaching profession, because I know it's not being taught a lot, but you and Leanne have got a lot of experience, so I would find it really helpful to learn more about it.
Sure, I can vouch for me and Leanne. We've both got a lot of experience in burnout. We've been through fucking hell together, me and Leanne.
Just wanting, I know Mark's got his hand up, but I really want to, I recommend that all of you watch that presentation that I posted in the WhatsApp group this morning.
Fantastic.
Okay, it's really, really good. It's about specifically treating trauma in treatment for better retention, but she doesn't just talk about how the clients need to be treated. She talks about how the staff and the workplace members need to be treated. So you'll get, it's about an hour. So you'll get some really good info there.
Cool. Mark?
Sorry about that. So what I found quite interesting being at the foundation clinic, you know, I've been taking we have an in-house NA meeting on a Monday, and since I've arrived, I've kind of been taking the chair, and it's I find it quite interesting how some people will come to clinic or they'll come to rehab, and they will see you know, their addiction as the main problem in their life, and they talk about their trauma, and they go through a process, and then so while Monday was specifically, I spoke about complacency in recovery, like when you leave this container or this rehab and you go out in the world. My experience in the past, or my lived experience, has been that I don't do any self-care. I don't do anything that is suggested. I kind of like try to wing it on my own, and it's always been to my detriment. And when I see people in the house sort of like focusing all their efforts only on the problem and their shame and guilt and their trauma, but they don't really have this concrete plan of self-care going while they're in treatment or going out, it's I don't know. I've tried not to take on that role of trying to, make people, I don't know, adopt sort of a plan of self-care just because it's working for me currently. But I do see that with some people, there just seems to be this lack of direction when it comes to self-care. What does it look like for them? What can they do about it? And so because they don't know what to do, then they rather just don't make any plan for it.
I just want to jump in here, Mark. You've got to be careful of comparing yourself 6 months in to people who are 14 days in.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? You've got to be careful of taking your experience as a coach or as an inpatient and making your experience someone else's, even if it's helpful, because there's a process that people follow, and part of the process is to work with the counselor and the social worker. That's how people move along. You know, sometimes putting together a self-care plan when you're just in the process of unpacking your addiction is too much. People are not ready for it, and that's why it's a process. You know, I don't know, when you came into the clinic, you were already 3 or 4 months clean, right?
I was.
So it's a different experience for you. So it's about when people are ready to start putting those things together, when they're ready to move from, the counseling and therapy space into more of a coaching space, taking responsibility, agency, accountability, etc. But not everybody's there yet. So I'm just going to caution you or recommend, a lot of people are very, very early days compared to you. Even from a helping point of view, they are in a process. And that's why we talk about counseling, coaching being adjunct, and counseling doesn't replace therapy and counseling, and often that's why we don't use coaching, individual coaching in the treatment center, because the guys are in counseling stroke therapy processes.
Okay, thanks, Sam. That makes sense.
Great. 8-minute break, 7.5-minute break. Do we have any smokers here? Mark, vape? Okay, cool. So let's do 7 minutes. Yep. And yeah, see you in a bit. Oh, and Cheswa, just so you know, this meeting's being recorded for training purposes only. It's not going out
Awesome.
to the public. Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay.
Why's my video not coming back on? Oh, there we go. Do you like my rose? It's a nice plastic rose. All right. So, oh, let's go. Who wants to build the container, Nick?
No, I'm all right, thanks. Inessa looks like she's ready to.
Okay, cool. All right, go for it, Nessa.
So since Nick has refused the offer to build a container, Inessa is checking in and feeling very enthusiastic and trying to pass some of that enthusiasm back to Nick.
Touche. Yeah, I'm feeling great. Got a fresh coffee and yeah, learning a lot so far. So thanks. Sorry, I'll pass it on to Cesare.
Are we checking in?
Yep.
Okay, yeah, checking in, feeling positive and hopeful. Bradley.
Thanks, Cesare. Bradley checking in. I think the first session already learned a lot. So looking forward to what's in store for the next hour. Kayleen.
Eileen checking in, feeling very just neutral, really weirdly, just feeling very average. I'm gonna tag Tanya.
Thanks, Kelly. Tanya, checking in, yeah, engaged and inspired. I'm gonna tag Garth.
Garth checking in, feeling thoughtful and positive. Yeah. And I don't know who hasn't gone yet. Joshua.
Josh checking in, feeling optimistic, more than nihilistic, and tagging Mark.
Yeah, I think Mark's run off to sneak up the pole quickly. He's so obsessed.
Mark is busy with self-care.
Yeah, okay. All right, Leanne?
Yeah, I'm checking in, feeling present. And David.
Oh, all right. So how's the container going? What was it that you wanted to talk about, Inessa?
Self-care and burnout prevention.
Self-care and burnout prevention. Okay. So I was sitting at a conference a couple of years ago, and this lady came on from the States, these kind of professional doctors, and just goes, trigger warning. I'm going to be talking about trauma, and we're going to be talking about the ACE score, adverse childhood experience of trauma. And there were 10 criteria. Yep. And I scored 9 out of 10. And my sponsor, who was sitting next to me, he was sitting there and he said, well, what am I meant to do? I haven't got any of those, but I still became a heroin addict that was shooting heroin. So, and the reason I just want to say that story is there's trauma, and then there's trauma, and there's no trauma, and people can still get into trouble in a culture of addiction. Yep. So I just want us to also not go trauma digging and looking for golden wounds to try and justify why someone's using. Does that make sense? Yeah.
I've got a bit of a challenge there. I don't think it's about digging. I think it's just there. High prevalence of co-occurring trauma with people with addiction disorders. And I don't think it's about digging. I just think it if it's there, it comes up.
So let me bloody hell, there we go. So let me talk about digging, yeah, from my perspective. When people can be assessed Yep, and they get a case history. Often there's a bias in looking at the history for things that have happened in the past that justify the present. So it's so there's definitely is trauma there, and there's also people have survived their trauma. In what context do you want to talk about it, Inessa?
I'm really curious about taking care of ourselves as coaches, so
Right.
that we can be the best for, well, first of all, prevent the burnout in us, but also being able to bring the best to our clients.
Okay. So how do you handle it in your organization?
So we have quite a strong culture of accountability between the leadership in the church. So we would check in on one another on how we're doing and make sure that they get help if they need help. But it's also I think in a lot of the cases, because it's not it's a church, so a lot of it is voluntary, and a lot of it is it's not as formally employed situation. So you don't always have hours. So everybody's kind of left for themselves to figure out what does their self-care looks like. And it's part of our role to bring in the self-care, healthy self-care management. So it's part of my role to teach that to people as well. So I'm still at learning what does it look like for me, and what are the healthy principles of self-care. And that's why I'm asking the question, so that we can go and teach it to the others.
Kayleen, Joshua, what are your thoughts on it? From what did they teach you at university? Sorry, Kayleen, I'm just going to switch off your video. That might help.
Something that I might be wrong. Well, Josh and I studied at different places, but self-care wasn't necessarily something that take so
Kayleen, unmute.
Hi, sorry, it seems I can't restart my video. Sorry, it's my connection today. For some reason, it's a bit.
Yes, I stopped your video. So
can you guys hear me?
Yep, we can.
Okay, perfect. Well, I was going to say that the self-care narrative only really became a thing for me when I was working in my previous company, which was a workplace wellness oriented company where we would offer wellness services to corporates. So at university level, it's interesting how that self-care wasn't something that we went into great depth about. It was I think we said in one of our very first sessions that the Western psychology sort of field tends to take quite an approach of focusing on illness as opposed to wellness. And so I think that's where with the workplace and that I was working at previously, the narratives that we tried to sort of strengthen there was like speaking from a place of wellness. Same here, which is something that I really like. So I think it's what I've really taken from what I learned from at my previous company and from my colleagues is that you have to set your boundaries very early on, because you kind of show people. Well, I show people. I'm going to use the I statement. I show people what I'm willing to take and how I want to be treated based on how I allow someone to treat me. So from the very beginning, so that's where we really start to teach people how much we're willing to give, and we need to make sure that there is an end to the giving, because something that's my starting point is to not is a relationship of trust with the person that I'm working with, that I'm reporting to. If we see that they respect our if they respect my boundaries, then I feel safer to give more, if that makes sense. So yeah, really, boundaries is just the very first starting when I would say with self-care.
Thank you. Josh?
So within that, I mean, I agree with Kayleen, within the actual course, we don't really learn about like practical things of this is how you conduct yourself, this is what psychotherapy looks like. But we get all the tools, and I would say we get the grammar and the syntax, we learn our ABCs. And at Wits, like we did have a lot of opportunities for self-care and a lot of resources. I had a therapist that I saw for a year at 50 Rand a session, a clinical psychologist at the Mthomjeni Center on campus. They really, really helped me. And I think the main thing, like when you're applying for your master's, they check that, are you seeing a therapist yourself, which is bloody expensive and difficult to do. And the reason being, because we work with transference and counter-transference, because we work with how we feel, we really need to know, we say what's our shit and what's not our shit. And you have to kind of take the time to do that. And I think for me, what I've kind of learned is that self-care is needed more often than you think. So I've quite often only really tapped into self-care when I felt like I was in real dire times, or like I felt like I really needed it. But in order to have like proper self-care in my mind, you need to be doing it all the time. You don't want to reach a point. It's kind of like taking a vitamin so you don't get sick. You don't want to wait until you're sick to start taking vitamin C, because by the way, that doesn't actually help. So yeah, I don't know. It's about consistency, and I don't know, within our space, we had resources, but they weren't given to us. We had to like go out and get them ourselves.
Nessa?
Yes.
This is your topic. This is your
Okay. So one of the things that I could think of, or something that we have learned about self-care, is that you can't give what you don't have. So you need to fill your various buckets, proverbial buckets. So and there's different buckets that you have in your life. So how do you, as a person, and they'll obviously be filled differently, but how do you fill your buckets, and what is the most helpful?
So make it about yourself. Use I statements there. Like
Yeah, but
so,
I'm actually asking a question. Yeah.
okay. So you're asking the container, the individual.
I'm asking the container how they fill their buckets. Yeah.
Okay. So I've been using TikTok and numbing out for 4 or 5, 6 hours at a time. Yeah, which hasn't really been great for me. And so I've started exploring other areas. So I went to yoga the other day. I've chosen to walk to different places. So instead of catching the bus and the train, I'll do an hour. It'll take me an hour and a half walk. Yeah. What I do need to focus on next is my diet. I do a lot of comfort eating to help deal with my emotions, which isn't great. And I need to start looking at that. But I
And
just want a donut before I do that.
David, do you find that the things that you were talking about with in regards to walking and so on, it kind of give you a chance of slowing you down?
Yes.
You don't follow as much of the pace of everything is instant and quick and so on. Is that what you're saying?
So I would ask me a different question from a coaching perspective. I would say something like, so what are the benefits of walking for you? Yeah. So what it does do is it gives me a space to think. I don't know if it slows me down because I'm still quite a manic person and a manic walker. And but it does it also depends where I am walking. So if I'm walking in the city where there's lots of people, it can be very ADD stimulating, just because there's so many people and dodging things like that. So that in itself can be kind of stressful as well. Yeah, did you ask me a question, Josh, in the chat?
No,
Josh,
no,
you
I'm
can-
just helping
Oh,
Tonya with a little bit. But to answer Inessa's question, because I don't think I did with mine, I was actually more answering what we get through the education as psychologists. We don't learn anything about self-care for ourselves. It's all about the patient. For me, it's not really about slowing things down. For me, it's about freezing. So I get very anxious and I can't do things. And for me, I've learned that it's like physical activity really helps me. Like anxiety is my body saying I feel like I need to be doing something. So when I go for a run in the morning or a walk and get rid of that energy, I feel less frozen. I feel like I'm able to complete other tasks because I've done this thing in the morning. And that helps me fill my cup. Like I'm not the type of person that needs to take a day off or like rest or have a bubble bath, but a little bit of physical exercise, which I don't do enough of, that's it for me for sure.
Kayleen? We'll go Kayleen and then Bradley.
Yeah, so I want to tie into what Josh said about the physical exercise, but for me, it's anything that is the less easy way to go. So let's say I have the choice between going for a walk or scrolling on my phone for an hour. The easiest one is obviously to just sit there where I'm sitting right then and there, and to just keep scrolling. But it actually leaves me feeling so incredibly exhausted. I've exerted no energy, but I also feel depleted of energy. So it sounds paradoxical, but as we know, yeah, the exercise helps with the endorphins and just, yeah, you almost like create more energy. That's how I personally feel. So even if it's getting up to do the laundry or the dishes versus just sitting there scrolling, it's the same story. Like I always find that like the thing I want to do least, or that's going to require the most amount of energy, gives me the most amount of energy back. It's very, yeah, interesting when you realize that.
Bradley?
Yeah, so I think for me, it's been always that thing of, wouldn't say shutting down, but just closing myself off and staying with my family. It's either going away, or if you can't go away, just being indoors and making people understand, okay, this is just my family time. So it's that, it seems that you're always around people the rest of your week, and they're always expecting something from you.
I find that I'm around people all week and I feel that they always expect something from me.
Say again,
Yeah. And I'm going to keep pushing this I statement stuff because it's when we use our lived experience, we can share it in a way from the I that might be helpful for the client. Yeah.
Okay, so that's the I, yeah. So I feel that people are always expecting something from me.
I relate to that.
So then generally I shut down by just keeping myself with my family, because they don't expect from me. So I can just be myself with them, especially with my kids. Then I'll spend the time with my kids, just playing around with the kids. And that just re-energizes me again.
Great, thanks, Bradley. I find that me being around my kids, they often expect things from me, and it has the opposite effect. Thank you for that. Okay.
I'm going to jump in. I think one of the most, and I think it was Kayleen who alluded to it, one of the most important aspects of self-care is boundaries, over and over and over again, rather than, letting people treat you in a certain way from the outset, kind of being very clear in how you would like to be treated and what your needs and wants are in an organizational or a professional or a personal sense. I did 2 sessions yesterday, and the homework on both of the sessions was practice saying no. Just say no. I don't have time. I don't have the energy. I don't have the capacity. And not feeling like you need to explain yourself. For Ines who asked the question, somebody in the organization comes to you and says, can you counsel or coach 2 people this afternoon? And you're exhausted. No, I'm sorry, I don't have capacity today. I don't have availability, whatever it is. And then not say because blah, 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 blah. When you say no, because you're kind of at your limit, and you need to go and exercise or disconnect or rest or whatever it is you do for self-care, you don't need to explain why you don't have capacity. It's just like, I'm really sorry, I don't have capacity to see an extra 2 people today, you know, but I can see them on Friday. I think that's super, super important. Because unless you put up your hand and say, I need time off, I need time out, no one's going to give it to you. Ordinarily, that's not my experience anyway. And I see it with a lot of my clients. They bank huge amounts of leave that they never use, and they're burned out. So people are like, we think we're indispensable and we're not. Yeah, our clients ordinarily survive months and months and years before they start seeing us. If we can't see them for 48 hours, they're probably going to be okay. Right? So, yeah, that's my take on it.
Garth?
I was actually thinking something similar about personal responsibility. And yeah, that's got a lot to do with boundaries and stuff as well. And the concept that I'm 100% in control of my life and the decisions that I make and everything that I do is my choice. So if people are running after me for things and I feel obligated to please them so that they don't get upset with me, you know, that's a choice that I'm making. And then it's also my choice to put down boundaries. If I'm tired, it's because I've chosen to not sleep. So I found that was quite empowering. Like, I'm in total control of my life. And once I realized that, it's like, okay, well, if I'm suffering, it's my fault. And working from that point. And when it came to sort of the necessities of sort of filling my cup up again, it's I've got to look after my brain. So I do useless things that don't involve any thinking, like playing video games that I've played 1,000 times, or you know, something like that, just to let my brain rest. I exercise, and I try to get proper nutrition. So like, those are the fundamentals. And then I don't really have time to do the things that bring me joy, but I do get them there occasionally. But yeah, so I think that's it. If I'm tired, it's my fault. And I think that's kind of what I wanted to say.
Cool. Okay, Anessa, back to you. How's the container doing in answering your agenda?
I think the container's been very helpful. I don't necessarily want to hog the rest of the conversation if anybody's got other questions. So
Nick's
kind of
got to
like
stand up. Let's hear from
yeah,
Nick.
sorry.
Yeah, in terms of self-care, it's a very subjective thing. You know, some people might want to play video games, some people want to meditate and do deep breathing or yoga or pole dancing or walking or praying or whatever floats your boat. I think, but it's important that you do it, whatever it is. An obvious truism is, you know, what you put into life is directly proportional to what you get out of it. So what Kayleen was saying certainly resonated with me. You know, when you exert so much exercise, I mean, so much energy, you find that you're so much more energized as a result. Another truism is that if you want somebody to do something, ask the busiest person in the room. Not the one sitting in the corner scrolling, doom scrolling, because it ain't going to get done. Anyway, that's just my tuppence worth.
Thank you.
I just want to add one little thing in terms of recovery, and I'm not a 12-step person at all, but in the literature they talk about resentment being the #1 offender for relapse. And if you take on too much from too many people over and over again, and I see it all the time with my clients, people start to get resentful, and resentful people relapse. You know, whether it's you or your clients in that self-care, boundaries, self-love space, people who aren't taking care of themselves, taking on too much, saying yes to everything, resentment is rocket fuel for relapse. So just something to be mindful of.
So I really want to stress what Leanne's just brought in, is when we find ourselves starting to get resentful with our clients or our work, that's a huge indication of like we've gone into burnout territory. And it's those of you that are doing this from a service faith-based space, it is no longer spiritual then. You've moved into a place of codependency, and I would say you would have started doing God's work. So, for example, for me, someone kind of keeps phoning me asking for help, and then I get resentful that they're phoning me, and I've been helping them out with money here and there because I've been feeling kind of guilty about it. And then I've set up a dependence in a way that's yeah, that wasn't my role. And I'm still very guilty of it. I still have lots of challenges around money and self-worth and things around that. I give a lot of work away for free, and I get resentful about it. And the reason I do that is I feel ashamed, and I have some false beliefs around money, my relationship with money. And I'll let you know when I've worked it out. I'll send you all an invoice. I thought that was quite funny. Yes, Leanne, you want to come in there? No. Okay. And also, you know, sometimes our shortcomings, yeah, but I don't know if I'm ever that I think they are sometimes assets. So my willingness to go and drive things without money has been incredibly creative and ingenious in what we've created with just sheer passion and determination. It's like, gosh, it's the right thing to do. We got to kind of get up there and do this. I've given up on trying to get funders to fund us from a charity perspective, because you just end up your whole time trying to appease the funder for whatever reason. And I've just like given up, like, fuck, fund us, don't fund us, whatever. And I'm in that relationship with Cricket South Africa at the moment in the Hubs program. You know, we put in £50,000 worth of organizational development to develop their organization, their coaches, so that they could create community hubs around the country to address some of the mental health challenges that are happening in the various communities. And yeah, there's now a kind of expectation there, and I feel myself getting a bit irritated, and there's the internal politics going on, and like, oh, fuck it, people. Yep. Do your thing. We're going to keep doing our thing. I think I need some coaching around that sometime. I know Leanne's face when she goes, oh, you think, Dave?
Yeah, David and I have different ideas when it comes to this stuff. But you know, anything, you know, I've been doing work with my therapist around, and David, for you as well, around my money shadow and where it comes from and why it's there and what it's all about, etc., etc. And you know, that's multimodality work, right? Some of the work we'll do with our therapist, some of the work we'll do with our coach, and it's the same for our clients. but coaching can be a very strong space to identify the work that needs to be done, not necessarily always doing the work. Oh, maybe I should go and do some, deep psychoanalysis, or maybe I should go and do some shadow work, or maybe I should X, Y, and Z. I also just wanted to say to Josh, as you move into the space where you'll eventually be working with medical aids, everybody has mental health PMBs. And most people with depression can access those PMBs for out of hospital psychiatric or psychological services. If anybody's got any questions on that, I'm not going to get into it, but every year I get my prescribed minimum mental health benefits activated, and I see my therapist 15 times a year. And I don't have to pay for that. My medical aid pays for it because those benefits are mandated by the government. You've just got to have some sort of diagnosis around depression, bipolar. I was diagnosed with major depressive disorder many years ago, but I still keep using those benefits even though I'm well.
Yeah, you know what's
So-
great, Leanne, is like my last clinical psychologist that I saw said to me that he wouldn't diagnose me with anything, but he said, but I am going to diagnose you with major depressive
and then you
disorder.
get those out of hospital benefits.
Yeah.
If
So
you
some of
are
us
happy
do
with
that, you know.
a diagnosis. I mean, a lot of people in the group talk about anxiety. A lot of people with anxiety also suffer from some form of depression. There are ways to access resources. In the last few weeks, I've allocated like ready to certify coaches, clients of mine in the outpatient program that are looking for support, but they don't have resources. There's always a way to get help if we want it. And it's the same for our clients. And on that, I'm checking out before David moves on to anything new.
Okay. Bye, Leanne.
Bye. Thanks, everyone. Have a good finish of the end of session. See you next week.
Cool. All right. Well, let's start to go into the home stretch of this container. Yeah. What are some of your takeaways today?
So I'll start with the takeaways. I've got two takeaways. One is that I seriously need to create for me a big, hairy, audacious goal. I think it can add some fun to life. And then the importance of self-care, and also the importance of actually structuring it for myself. So I've been doing things here and there, but actually creating a bit of structure for myself around that.
Who's next? We're going popcorn style. Kayleen.
I just wanted to check, David, have you guys been able to hear me properly since my camera's been off? I just want to make sure I don't waffle too long, then you guys hear nothing. Okay, I'm glad that you guys have been able to hear. I would say that something that's really that I think I'm taking away from today's session is the reminder that we can so easily in these sorts of the helping fields, it's easy for people to tell us, well, we're doing it for or I'm doing it for the passion of the cause, and that's a reason to sort of work longer hours, push myself, not have such firm boundaries, get paid less, accept getting paid less, and the whole money shadow. I think that's something I also related with quite a lot from what you and Leanne both shared. So I think the awareness is so important there, to remind ourselves that we also need to know our worth, and know that we can't fall from it. Well, we can't fall from an empty cup. And I think if you have a lot of money worries, or you don't have very good boundaries with those that you're working for, then you can so easily get into a little bit of a survival mindset in some ways. And so I think that we need to be so cautious of that, because that can interfere with our ability to help others, to give the best possible service we can to others. And yeah, so that's my take home, I think, for today, is just to keep that conscious awareness of that, and how you can easily fall into a cycle of not standing your ground, not having your boundaries, accepting anything anyone says to you. That would be my takeaway. Thanks so much, guys.
Okay, so just before Josh comes in, I just want to say that that we need to start to understand the value, the commercial value that we bring to organizations when there's emotional intelligence within the organization and people are working well together. Bringing in mental health into organizations, if done properly, can really increase productivity, and you can get a huge return on your investment by doing that. Yeah, I just wanted to put that in there as well. People often kind of value HR in the organizations. Oh, that's an HR issue. That's an HR issue. But if you've got your HR right, it actually really does improve productivity. Josh.
Yeah, I like that you added that, because Kayleen has actually worked in spaces where she's done that over and above what HR departments do. So I think she would agree that she resonates a lot with what you're saying there. My main takeaway for today is, like, I really like that we focused a lot on the value, purpose, and meaning part of it. And I learned a lot about how conversations around that can look and what they sound like. And yeah, today kind of forced me to kind of really be a bit more introspective about things like my value, purpose, and meaning, and how I fill my cup. Because I think a lot of it, because it has been just the flow, is very unconscious for me. So yeah, just being aware around that, so I know when I'm falling short on that. But yeah, love the conversations around that today.
And where that goes to, Josh, is individually, if you know what your meanings, values, and purpose is, you can then align yourself to an organization that speaks about its values.
And you know what's great, David, is like every single one of us, I think, spoke about like wanting to help others.
Yeah.
And I think that just shows how we're aligned by being in this course together. It's not that we all just piggybacked off each other's answers. We all have that same purpose. And that's kind of maybe why we're all here. It's very cool.
There's nothing worse when you work in an organization and the values are stuck up on the wall, and as a customer you go in there and they really don't practice those values as an experience. So like the customer's always right, or we value your feedback, and then you give feedback and why are you telling us it's not our department? I'm going to refer you to somewhere else. Yeah. Whatever. Yeah. Cool. Who's next? Thanks, Josh.
I'll go next there. I think what I take out is, once again, those things that you actually learn. Like, we're speaking about boundaries and we're speaking about the self-care but it made me again just sit back and assess, but have I forgotten those things? Because I know it. But if I look back at now, I've kind of let those things slip away a bit. And I think it was just nice that as we were talking, it's just to realign and come back to it and say, okay, let's just relook at it. Am I still putting up my boundaries that is sufficient for me to take care of myself? So that's what I take out of this today.
Fantastic. Next.
Well, I'll go. I thoroughly enjoyed today's container and the conversation. Learned an awful lot. You know, it's critical about self-awareness. And if you're going to add value, if I'm going to add value to an individual or an organization, I better be self-aware and make sure that our values are aligned. Yeah, so I have to be cognizant of that, and how I present myself, because it's going to come back to me with interest.
Fantastic. Thanks, Nick. Mark?
I won't lie. I had a little bit of anxiety when it came to, you know, when I was sharing about, you know, my experience around self-care and some of the people that are in the clinic here. And when she gave me the response, although I understood it, it made me feel like, you know, it's difficult for me. Not difficult, but there's some anxiety around being in a clinic with people on different journeys. Myself in recovery, I'm in a container with people that have either got experience and are well, and then I'm trying to not take what I'm learning here and impose it on people in the clinic. So all of a sudden, her response made me think, "Oh shit, am I?" Is my view of everything slightly askew or something? I don't know. So maybe I just need to take it back to myself and focus on myself only, although I'm trying to figure out or learn about coaching others. So I'm a little bit anxious around all of it at the moment.
Okay. So I'm going to frap you, Mark. Yeah. And the reason I'm going to do that is to you're doing a hell of a lot. And you're in an environment where it's going to be very difficult not to practice what you're learning. Yeah. And you're going to be in an environment where people are going to be wanting that help and support. Yeah. And it's going to be the type of environment that's going to be, you want my help, but then you don't follow my help. Yeah. So it's going to be that messaging, come here, fuck off, don't leave me. I want you, go away, I need my space. It's that's the environment that you'll find yourself in. I would try and find your center in that, and just to kind of just observe more. Yeah. So I wouldn't change anything. Yep, other than just kind of, it is a complex environment you're in, being in the treatment facility and all this stuff going on. You're doing brilliant. You're doing absolutely brilliantly.
Okay, thank you, David. That puts me at ease a little bit. I'll definitely take that observing into. I'll do a lot more of that, I think.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and just for the container, sometimes you do need to step in and frap. Yeah. Life isn't about coaching. Coaching is a role that you use at times. Yeah, but if someone's drowning, you're not going to kind of say, would the value of flapping your arms be helpful right now? No, you're going to throw them a life buoy or whatever it is. They say, here, grab this. Cool. All right. Thanks. Who's next?
I'll share. Yeah. So are we checking out yet? Are we just doing a takeaway?
We're doing
takeaway.
But we
okay, so
checkout time.
All right. So for me, what's come up, especially in the last 2 weeks, is self-care. So my self-care practices are quite consistent. But yeah, it was really helpful to be reminded of the idea of boundaries. And that's also something I've been really integrating the last few months, is boundaries. It's been a big life theme of late, and how boundaries correlate with self-care. And then a theme this last 2 weeks has been around self-care on a cognitive level, like on a more principle-based level. So it's not just like diet, exercise, sleep hygiene, etc. It's not purely physiological. I've recently deleted Netflix, and I haven't had social media for some time now, and it's been amazing. But also, I need to get back on just for business purposes. But I've had a 3-month sabbatical from social media, primarily because my phone was broken. So it's been incredible, the bandwidth that I've managed to gain from not having easy access to Instagram has been quite incredible. And this week I deleted Netflix and Showmax because I just started watching crap, and I was like, no, I'd rather not watch anything than spend time consuming junk food, junk food for my brain, which is what most of what's out there is. So I made an effort to Gaia, and instead, when I do want to binge out and watch something and chill, I'll rather watch something interesting and informative that I can gain from. So cognitive self-care or mental self-care has been important to me.
Cool. Thank you.
Taking Cat.
Oh, there you
This
are.
is just me.
Or Shezra. Yeah, go for it. Go. You go, and then Shezra, and then we'll start the checkout.
Cool. Yeah, I think there's a lot of little things that I'm taking away from today. I think I'm going to look into a little bit of time management as well.
Just 1 minute. I'm still busy here. I'm on a phone.
Okay.
Oh,
Keep
okay.
going, guy.
Sorry, I thought I was interrupting. Yeah, I think I'm going to look into a little bit of time management because I think that'll help with a lot of the mental stress. And I think I'm also going to expand my mission statement. I think I'm going to add maybe a fitness thing. Also, just to stay as healthy as possible. As I go on through life, I think that would be a good thing for me to add on to that, and I'll see what else I can add on there. And I think that's about it. A lot of little things that I'll take with me. Thanks.
Cool. And there we go.
Hi, yeah, I found today very valuable. I'm sorry that I've missed the past few weeks. Just working in a facility has been crazy busy, and I think a lot of what we've discussed today about, filling our own cups and putting in boundaries, I relate to Mark a lot about, trying to separate and trying to just be there for people while also being there for yourself. I mean, working in a rehabilitative facility, you kind of on demand constantly. And it's been draining at times, as rewarding as it has been, it's also been quite taxing, but that's something that I believe that I will kind of adjust to and get used to over time. But also, I did start putting in boundaries professionally, with regard to how I've been used, not so that I'm used but not abused. I am a people pleaser. It is one of my flaws and my strengths, because I do kind of extend myself to the point of burnout. So I think, as I go along in my course and learning about coaching and learning about the professional space that I'm in, those kind of tools will come naturally, where I'm able to be there for people just as much as I'm there for myself. So yeah, just keeping on learning, and thank you to everyone who's it's just nice to meet some new people, and I look forward to the future. Yeah. Thank you, David. Thank you, everyone. and I'm checking out feeling positive and enlightened. Thank
Cool.
you.
All right, everyone. Very, very quick checkout. Yeah. Give yourselves some homework for next week, whatever that is. I check out with Joy. I tag Nick.
I check out Enlightened and I tag Mark Anthony.
Thanks. I'm checking out relaxed and excited. And then I'll tag God.
Garth, checking out enthusiastic. Inesca?
Checking out thoughtful, and I'm going to tag Bradley.
Thanks, Vanessa. Bradley, I'm checking out actually also relaxed now. And Tanya.
Yes, thanks. Tanya, I'm checking out feeling affirmed. Yeah.
Oh,
Is that everyone?
Kayleen, Chesra.
Yeah.
Kayleen, checking out, feeling motivated. Yeah. Thanks for everything today, guys. I'm gonna tag Josh, have you gone?
No, not yet.
Josh.
No, yeah, thanks, Kayleen. Josh, checking out, feeling hopeful and excited for the future. Tagging Cesare.
Yeah, feeling positive and hopeful and enlightened. Thank you.
Cool. Is that everyone? Bye.
Bye, guys.